What if the gravity that is, keeping your feet on the floor right now isn't just a cold mechanical law of physics?
Right.
What if it's actually an emotion? I mean, think about it. Usually when we talk about love, we treat it like a weather event.
Yeah, exactly. Like a weather event.
It's this unpredictable thing you just hope to get caught in, a warm front that rolls in, makes everything beautiful for a little while, and then inevitably shifts. We think of it as a feeling, a romance, a fleeting chemical reaction in the brain.
We do. We categorize it as something that happens to us, or, well, at best, something we do.
Yeah.
Like a verb, an action we have to actively maintain.
But today, we are going to completely deconstruct everything you think you know about love. We were doing a deep dive into a singular, profoundly mind-bending text called Eternal Love, the truth that holds everything and nothing.
It's quite a title.
It is. And our mission today is to look at the rigorous, really startling argument this text makes.
Right.
That love isn't the weather at all. It is the actual atmosphere. It is the primordial physical matter of the universe. Okay, let's unpack this.
It is a massive premise. And what makes this text so compelling is that it isn't just relying on, poetic metaphors.
Right.
It actually synthesizes insights from quantum physics, cellular biology, Vedic cosmology, and indigenous traditions,
Right.
all to show us the actual mechanisms of reality.
Oh, it's wild.
It really is. It presents love as the foundational fabric of existence, the literal nervous system of the cosmos.
So if you are listening to this right now and you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by the sheer chaos of the modern world.
Which, let's face it, is most of us.
Oh, absolutely. Or if you've ever wondered what truly connects us beneath all the noise and division, this deep dive is going to give you an entirely new lens through which to view your own existence. We are redefining love from an emotion we feel to the very substance that we are.
The text begins by arguing that creation itself wasn't a cold, calculated engineering project. It was fundamentally a love act.
Like the universe wanting to express itself.
Exactly. The physical world, the hardness of a rock, the mass of a planet, the cells in your skin. It's just love exploring what it is like to be matter.
I love the analogy the author uses here.
The water one.
Yeah, that the world is made of love the exact same way that ice is made of water.
Yes. It's a transformation of state, not a change of substance.
It means the building blocks never change, just their temperature and form. And the text points out how ancient traditions have known the mechanics of this forever.
Right, like in Vedic cosmology.
Exactly. They talk about the universe beginning with Ikka, this divine will acting as a deep desire. A longing for the universe to know itself through form.
And the Sufi masters called this exact same engine Ish, the driving force of manifestation.
And then you have the Kabbalistic tradition talking about cheesed, this unconditional, flowing love that literally has to precede any kind of physical structure, otherwise the structure just collapses.
But the text doesn't ask you to just take ancient mysticism at its word. It maps this directly onto the mechanics of modern physics. Let's go back to gravity.
Oh, this part blew my mind.
Right, because we are taught that gravity is just a mechanical constant. But Einstein showed us that gravity is the actual curvature of space-time.
Mass tells space-time how to curve, and space-time tells mass how to move.
Exactly. And the text reframes this. It says, gravity is love's most patient demonstration. It is the physical principle of matter curving the very fabric of reality just to be closer to other matter.
So instead of thinking of gravity as just a cold mathematical equation, it's almost like the universe's longest, most patient hug.
That's a great way to put it.
It's a foundational built-in preference for togetherness over isolation. The universe literally bends over backwards to bring things together.
Yes. What's fascinating here is that it gets even more undeniable at the quantum level.
Yeah.
The text brings up the phenomena of quantum entanglement.
Where particles get synced up.
Right. In a lab, if you take two particles and let them interact, their quantum states become entangled. You can then separate them by miles, or even across the galaxy.
And they still react to each other.
Instantly. Faster than the speed of light. If you measure one particle and change its spin, the other particle snaps into the corresponding state.
Which used to drive Einstein crazy. He called it spooky action at a distance because it violates the rules of physics as we understand them.
Exactly. But the text explains why it happens. It happens because, to the universe, those two particles never actually separated.
Wow.
The universe keeps an absolute record of every genuine encounter. The space between them is a localized illusion, but their entanglement is the deeper reality.
What's fascinating to me is how we scale that up from invisible particles to the human body, because we are basically just giant walking collections of entangled particles.
We are. And the text connects this quantum entanglement directly to the biology of your own body right now. Think about how a living organism functions.
Okay.
You are made of trillions of individual cells, but they share resources. They communicate through complex chemical pathways. They even undergo apoptosis.
That's programmed cell death, right?
Yes. Where a cell will peacefully dismantle itself if it knows it's infected, just to protect the whole.
Wow.
This cellular movement toward connection and shared life is love in its most elementary biological form. Cellular integration is the literal definition of health.
And what happens when a cell breaks from that cooperative logic? When it decides to, stop listening to the chemical signals of the whole and just hoards resources for itself?
We call that cancer.
Right.
That is the root of disease. When a cell operates in exclusive self-interest and forgets its entanglement with the organism, the whole system suffers. And eventually that rogue cell destroys its own host.
So the text is making a hard scientific claim here. Love isn't just a nice idea or a moral suggestion. It is the biological and physical logic of survival.
Exactly.
But wait, if that's true, if love is this fundamental glue drawing everything together, and if unity is the default state of the cosmos, why did the universe bother splitting into billions of separate things in the first place?
That is the big question.
Right, like if unity is so great, why is there a you and a me? Why are we sitting here in separate bodies?
It's the ultimate paradox. But the text explains the absolute necessity of separation. If the universe remained a single, unified block of consciousness, it could never actually experience itself.
It would just be a static blob.
Right. It became two so that it could experience the profound dynamic joy of return. The Upanishads capture this beautifully with the phrase, Tat Tvam Asi.
That translates to that thou art, doesn't it?
Yes. It means the deepest, most foundational consciousness in you and the deepest consciousness in the person sitting across from you are identical. They are the exact same water, just frozen into different shapes of ice.
So when you love someone else, it isn't just a metaphor for connection. It is literally the universe moving love from its left hand to its right hand.
Precisely. And this is where the Vedantic concept of Maya, or illusion, comes into play. We often think of illusion as a trick or a lie.
Like being deceived.
Right. But the text frames Maya as a necessary game. It's the veil the universe voluntarily wears so that love actually has a distance to travel. Without the illusion of another, love has nowhere to go. You cannot see your own face without a mirror.
And the text highlights some beautiful cultural frameworks for this mirror effect, like the Celtic concept of Anamkara, the soul friend.
Oh, that's a great example.
It's not just a buddy, it's the person whose presence acts as a perfectly polished mirror, making the contours of your own soul visible to you. And the Yoruba concept of Ori, which recognizes that the meeting of two people is just the supreme source honoring its own vastness through multiplicity. But I have to admit, as beautiful as this sounds, I want to push back on this pretty hard.
Please do. Let's test the mechanism.
Okay, because if I'm tracking the logic here, if loving you is literally just loving another expression of myself, doesn't that entirely strip away the selflessness of love?
I see where you're going.
Doesn't it make the whole thing inherently narcissistic? Like, if I jump in front of a moving bus to save a stranger, but my underlying fundamental reality is I'm saving them because they are me, that feels like spiritual selfishness.
Right.
How does the text get around that?
It's a really great challenge, and it's honestly where most people get tripped up. But the text offers some brilliant ontological precision to counter that.
Okay, lay it on me.
It argues that you are confusing ego with the integrated self. It's not selfish because true love requires the complete dismantling of the ego that would even claim a reward. Think of it like your body.
Right.
If your left hand gets cut, your right hand instantly reaches over to apply pressure and stop the bleeding. Is the right hand being selfish because it's saving the same body it belongs to?
Well, no.
Right? It's an integrated circuit. The text explicitly states that the ancient instruction to love another as thyself isn't an ethical commandment telling you to do something difficult and self-sacrificial.
It's an ontological description of reality.
Exactly. It's simply explaining how the circuitry works. What you give and what you receive aren't two different events.
Because the channel itself, your own nervous system, is fundamentally altered by the frequency of what passes through it.
Exactly. You cannot pour clean water through a pipe without the pipe getting wet and washed. When love flows through you towards someone else, your brain chemistry, your nervous system, your physiology, you are the channel being flooded with that reality.
That makes so much sense.
This is the mechanism behind why generosity inherently heals the giver. It's why holding on to resentment literally poisons your own cardiovascular system.
Okay, I see. The right hand doesn't need a medal for saving the left hand because the survival of the left hand is the reward.
Spot on.
So if we understand this deeply intimate connection between me and you, how does this scale up? The text dives into this frankly impossible paradox of loving everyone versus loving no one. How on earth do we move from loving a partner or a child to loving as an omnipresent medium?
It requires us to completely overhaul what we think loving all actually looks like.
Uh,
The text brings up the ancient Greek concept of agape.
all right, the universal love.
Yeah. Loving everyone doesn't mean you have a warm, fuzzy, romantic feeling distributed equally to 8 billion people. That would be exhausting and impossible.
Yeah, nobody has that kind of energy.
Exactly. It's more like cosmic background radiation. Or, to use a modern example, it's like a Wi-Fi signal.
Mhm.
The router doesn't evaluate your laptop to see if it's worthy of an internet connection.
Right.
It doesn't withhold the signal from older devices or only beam toward the expensive ones. It simply emits the field.
And the text contrasts this with the teaching of the Christian mystic Meister Eckhart, right? Who talks about releasing the object of love entirely,
Yes.
essentially loving none, which, I mean, that sounds incredibly cold and detached at first glance.
It really does. But Eckhart's argument is that when love truly matures, it stops being a transaction directed at a specific target. The distinction between the lover, the act of loving, and the beloved entirely dissolves.
So it doesn't go cold, it becomes oceanic?
Precisely.
It's like a fish finally realizing it's swimming in water. For its whole life, it's been looking for water. But once it realizes it, it doesn't love the water in a possessive, clingy way.
Right.
It doesn't put its fins around one specific cubic foot of water and say, this is my water. I will fiercely protect this water from the other fish. It just recognizes the water as the medium that sustains absolutely everything. It just exists within it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the text reveals a stunning mathematical perfection to this paradox. Mathematically speaking, all equals infinity, and none equals zero.
Okay.
In advanced mathematics, infinity and zero are often treated as reflections of each other. They are the two concepts that completely break standard arithmetic.
Yeah.
So, love that perfectly encompasses all is functionally indistinguishable from love that dissolves the need for any specific object, becoming zero.
That is a wild thought.
They are the same infinite state, just measured from different vantage points.
So what does this all mean for how we treat each other? Because the practical outcome of this realization seems huge.
It leads directly to a radical concept of equality. We usually treat equality as a political or social construct, like a set of laws we have to artificially impose on a world that naturally wants to form hierarchies.
Sure.
But the text frames equality as a raw, unavoidable physical and spiritual truth. If all beings are entangled quantum particles emerging from the exact same source, the love at the root of reality simply does not rank its expressions.
The universe does not love a king more than a stray dog.
Exactly. It lives completely, without rank.
Which sounds incredibly peaceful. It sounds like a giant sigh of relief. But here's the massive turn in the text that caught me totally off guard.
The soft front.
Yes. If this love is everywhere, if it's shining on everything like the sun and holding us all in perfect, unranked equality, why does the text explicitly warn us that truly facing this love is utterly terrifying?
Because to be loved fully, in this unconditional, unranked way, means being seen completely. And let's be honest, we spend most of our adult lives desperately trying not to be fully seen.
Oh, absolutely. We curate. We manage our image. We walk around with physical tension in our jaws, hunched over our phones, constantly optimizing our professional profiles and our social media.
We wear incredibly thick armor.
We do.
And to enter the state of love, that armor has to come off. The strategic self-presentation has to dissolve. Unconditional love doesn't look at the performance you've spent your whole life perfecting. It looks directly at the terrified, fragile thing that the performance was designed to protect.
Wow.
And that level of exposure feels like an attack before it feels like liberation.
The text points to the Gnostic myth of Pistis Sophia, which translates to divine wisdom. In the myth, she falls out of the realm of light and into deep darkness and chaos. It proves that love isn't just fluffy and light. Sometimes it has to survive its own undoing. It requires us to face the darkest, most chaotic parts of ourselves without our easy certainties. And to explain how we actually do this physically, The text brings in the Hawaiian concept of alo, which is the root of the word aloha.
Yes, alo literally translates to presence, or the front of the body turned towards something.
Mm.
Facing this cosmic love requires what the text calls a soft front.
Meaning your chest, your throat, your belly, the most vulnerable parts of your anatomy are physically exposed and unarmored. You aren't hunched over in a defensive posture.
It's the ultimate willingness to be affected by the world. And when you physically and emotionally adopt that soft front, the text connects this to the Shaivite Tantric tradition of Satchitananda.
Which means being, consciousness, and bliss, right?
Exactly. And the Arupa concept of S, the life force. The radical claim here is that bliss isn't a gold star you get at the end of decades of good spiritual behavior. It's intrinsic. It's your body's natural testimony that existence itself is inherently worth having underneath all the stress.
But I want to make this super practical for you, the listener, out in the real world. How does this soft front actually work when you are dealing with a toxic boss or an abusive relative or just the cruelty of the internet?
It's a really common question.
When the text says we must love no matter what, is it telling us to just be a doormat? Are we supposed to just passively accept harmful behavior from others because we are maintaining a soft front?
It's a vital distinction, and it's where soft gets confused with weak. The text is fiercely clear that no matter what isn't resignation. It's the deepest form of agency you can possibly wield.
How so?
It means choosing to see reality in full knowledge of the whole. Setting a firm boundary with a toxic person isn't a failure of love. Sometimes it's the most loving thing you can do for the universal whole because you are stopping the spread of harm. But more importantly, the no matter what applies to your inner life.
The text talks about reversing the agreements you made with fear. What does that mechanism actually look like?
Think about the places inside yourself that you secretly feel are ugly or unlovable. Those are places where, at some point in your life, maybe in childhood, you made a subconscious agreement with fear.
You shut down.
Yes, you decided to cut off the circulation of love to that specific part of yourself just to survive. Choosing a soft front means systematically finding those agreements and reversing them. It's turning that primordial cosmic mother love toward every single cell of your own history and saying, I choose to integrate you back into the whole.
Okay, so we've looked at the quantum mechanics of entanglement, the interpersonal mirror evolution, and the internal terrifying physiology of the soft front. Now, how does all of this change the way we interact with the actual physical planet we are standing on?
This is where the text brilliantly scales from the personal right up to the planetary. It introduces the ecological equation of enough.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
The text presents the word enough as the single most radical, disruptive word in this entire framework. Because look at modern civilization. Our entire economic and psychological engine is driven by lack.
Completely. We are constantly on a treadmill being sold the idea that we need more to be complete. More stuff, a higher status, a more optimized biohacked version of our bodies. If we just get the next thing, then we'll be okay.
But realizing that the present moment, exactly as it is complete, not flawless, not without pain, but structurally whole, is a deeply revolutionary act.
It really is.
The text points to the Haudenosaunee or the Iroquois Confederacy
Yeah.
and their ethic of the 7 generations.
Right, making decisions based on how they will affect people 7 generations in the future.
Yes, this isn't just modern environmentalism or carbon offsetting. It's love expressing itself as ecological consciousness. It is the practice of treating the land as an entangled beloved, not as a dead resource waiting to be extracted.
It reminds me of the Kemetic tradition, the ancient Egyptian concept of Ma'at. The mythology says that when you die, your heart is placed on a scale and weighed against a single feather.
I love that imagery.
Right. If your heart is heavy with fear, hoarding, and lack, it sinks. But if it is light with interconnection and the knowledge of enough, it balances.
Exactly.
The incredible thing about the free truth this text describes is that it costs absolutely nothing. You don't have to buy a subscription to it. It requires no special circumstances. For you listening right now, it's like suddenly realizing you can just step off a treadmill you didn't even know you were running on.
And the planetary stakes couldn't be higher. The text makes the stark point that civilizations that treat their ground as a beloved partner do not destroy it. Love, in this cosmic, substantive quantum sense, is quite literally the technology of human permanence.
So it's not just a nice feeling, it's survival.
Yes, if we don't operate from a baseline of enough, if we don't recognize our physical entanglement with the environment, we simply do not survive our own technological adolescence. Love isn't a luxury. It is our ultimate and only sustainability strategy.
Wow. So, to synthesize this massive reality-bending journey we've just been on, we started by looking at the physics of love, redefining gravity as space-time bending to create togetherness.
Hmm.
We explored the illusion of separation, how loving someone else is literally the universe looking at itself in a mirror to experience the joy of return. We waded through the terrifying vulnerability of dropping our modern armor to hold a soft front, and we ended with the ecological revolution of stepping off the treadmill of lack and simply being enough.
It is a complete and total paradigm shift of what it means to exist.
And the absolute biggest takeaway for you listening is this. You do not have to earn this love. You don't have to meditate perfectly for a decade or fix all your flaws or act flawlessly to finally receive it. The universe is simply waiting for you to remember that you are already made of the very thing you've been exhaustingly searching for.
This raises an important question, though, and it's where the text leads us. How does all of this change our fundamental relationship with time?
Oh, wow.
The
Yes.
text leaves the reader with one last, truly mind-bending concept to ponder. It brings up the indigenous Quechua concept of Pachamama, which roughly translates to space-time mother.
Okay.
In our everyday lives, we almost always think of love as something that happens in time. We think, a relationship begins, it lasts for a few years, and maybe it ends. It has a clear before, a middle, and an after.
We're completely obsessed with making love last. That's the ultimate goal, right?
Right. But the text argues the exact opposite reality. Love isn't in time. Time is just a temporary container held within love.
Oh, wow.
Love doesn't participate in the mechanical logic of before and after at all. It is eternal, not because it stretches out for a really, really long time, but because it exists entirely outside the domain of time.
It's the medium itself.
Yes, it was the primordial condition that made the very first millisecond of the Big Bang possible. And it is the substance into which the last moment of the universe will eventually dissolve.
That is just incredible. So, as you go through the rest of your day today, ask yourself what changes for you if you stop frantically trying to make love last and instead realize it's the very atmosphere in which your time is unfolding.
It's not the weather that's passing through your life, it is the sky itself.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Carry this new lens out into your world, take a deep breath, unclench your jaw, and remember, you're already exactly where you need to be.